Hi, welcome. This is the front pattern of the skirt cut on lining. I am also going to use this to cut the back of the skirt with lining as well. Then I'll come back to the front and use it to cut the actual fabric part. Now, because we have an overlay, part of it is going to be lining and part of it is going to be the fabric. So this is how I set it up so I can cut the lining part. Okay, so this is the top part now. This is the lining part. I am stopping here as well, then adding sewing allowance to this, and then I'm going to cut. So I'm going to join this one now to the other plain fabric, and it's going to be what's going to be it's going to be under the overlap. That's the overlay. That's pattern and carry on top. And this is how I set it up so that I can cut the fabric part. Okay, it actually stops here. Oops, focus. Okay, so it actually stopped here where you see this line, and then I added sewing allowance by about a quarter. So this is it. Oops, following me. This is what is under there, and now I'm going to still use the lining to cut the front. That's the top of this, because it's going to be under, so there's no need to make it the fabric. I'm going to make it lining. We do not need the fabric to go all the way to the top, so the lining stops somewhere and then you have the fabric down, because the overlay will cover it. This top part is lining, bottom part is the plain fabric. But before doing all that, I used the front of the lining to draft the overlay. Now if you look closely at the picture, you will notice that from the hip line to where the overlay stops is wider than the actual skirt. I used 2 inches here, but I later reduced it to 1 inch because the 2 inch was too much. The reason why you are adding that extra is so that the overlay looks like it is separate. It doesn't slip directly on the front of the skirt. It extends out as if it's a separate skirt, one on top. That is why I added that extra. After doing that, I went ahead to cut out the curve of the bottom of the overlay. I also went ahead to cut the lining and keep it separate. Okay, this is what the overlay looks like. This is the overlay opened up, and I'm going to mark out the extra detail on the front. The reason why I'm marking everything out here is so that I can be sure I am on the correct side of the design. So the first thing I did was to measure from here 7 inches and mark, and then about 1.25 inches from here I slanted to that 7-inch point. Then from here to here again 7 inches, and then slant towards this at about 2 inches from the center. That's where I slanted this. That's at about 2 inches from the center. Slanted this to the 7-inch point. So I have that marked now. I am going to cut this part out and then cut this part out. This part I'll be replacing with the plain fabric. This part I will be slashing and spreading to create that fold, those details that are on this side. Before completely cutting out, make sure that you notch the points that they are going to meet, so that when you are putting them back together, they meet at the correct point. So I'm going to notch this place that I marked, just a tiny notch here, so that I can remember that that's where it's joining to this one. And now I'm going to take this part and cut it on the plain fabric. But when I'm cutting it on the plain fabric, I am going to add 1/2 inch on this end of it, 1/2 inch here. And this is what it now looks like. And then after slashing and spreading this other part, this is what you have. This part is replaced by a plain fabric, and then you join it. Okay, so this is it spread out. I've spread it out now. Now you will notice that I added my sewing allowance here, 1/2 inch all the way to the end. And then the parts that have been spread out, I just marked them with these boxes so that I can know where they will meet when I'm pleating them. That's it there. Then that point that we marked is supposed to meet where we joined the plain fabric. I transferred it here too. This is it. I transferred it here, so that's it notched there. Now I'm going to take this off and then sew this to the overlay. So basically what I did next was sew this to this and then pleat. Okay, I have pleated this first too. So what I'm doing basically is pick these ends If you watched any of my slash and spread tutorials, either on the exclusive community or on YouTube here, you will know that this is how I do mine. And then you pleat it. I'm placing the pleats up. Then when I pin here down, one thing I also do is to shift this in so that we have some extra here, so it's not flat. So I shift this part in before pinning it down so that I have some extra here. Same thing applies to the other pleats as well. Okay, so this is what we now have. I have turned the lining. I've turned the lining. I use it to finish the bottom part. And then that's what the pleat looks like right now. That's the other side. And I'm going to go ahead now and get ready and get the inner part ready. That's the plain fabric. Okay, so this is it. I have sewn the overlay on top. Now because of that extra we put, this is going to hang out. It's not going to be flat. It's going to hang by the time we sew it. This one as well. By the time we sew it, to just pop out. The lining under has been effectively covered. And yeah, that's it. Because of the way I finish the insides of my clothing, I sewed this only on the fabric. It doesn't touch the lining, because when I'm joining this front to the back, I'm going to join lining to lining and fabric to fabric so that all the seam lines and all the stitches are hidden inside the dress. Okay, so now for the back, I have sewn from the zip line, like this is where the zip is, so where I want the slits to start. So from here to here is about 12¼ inch. From here to here is the hip length. That's where the zip is going to stop. This is on the zip line. Now on the lining, same thing. From the zip line to where the slit will start, we have 12¼ inch. So I'm doing this video to show you how I put them together and sew the slit from inside. Now I am going to open this to the front. This is it open to the front. Hold on please. Okay, so this is it open to the front. This is our zip allowance. Then I'm going to open this one, but at the back. So this is it opened at the back. Now this is where the slit is, right? And on the Ankara, this is where the slit is. So I am going to make them meet. They are now at the exact same point. And then I will go inside from the side here and pick, making sure that they are still meeting now. That's the 2 points are still meeting. And then with the same 1 inch allowance, I am going to sew. But I will not get to the bottom. I will stop somewhere here. Let me do that and then come back. Okay, so this is it now sewn. I didn't get to the end, I still left it alone because I am going to take this now and sew it to the lining. No, the lining is shorter than the Ankara, so you don't sew it down like that. First of all, sew this with 1/4 inch, and then after sewing it, when it is now like this, I will complete the rest of the slits. This is just one side. Okay, so now that this is sewn, I am now going to complete the rest of the slits all the way down. Okay, so sewn now. Now I am going to turn it to the front. Remember, we've done only one side. Oh, this side is still open. The other side of the slit is still open. I've not sewn it yet. I'm just going to arrange this now. Excuse me. I'm turning to the front now. Everything was done here. And you have one side of the slit. That's it. So you're not really going to see what was folded. This is even if the person moves, this is what they will see. Now there is a chance this is just one side. I'm going to repeat the same before I go ahead to say what I wanted to say. I'm going to repeat the same process on this side. I'm going to go from inside, from this way, pick it the way we picked that one, sew it down, starting from where this stops. So with the same 1 inch allowance all the way to the bottom, stop somewhere here, join this, just the same process at the other side, join this with 1/4 inch, and then complete your 1 inch sewing and open. That's how you do the same thing for the other side, just the same process. What I wanted to say is there's a tendency that the lining will want to pop out, it wants to show itself. Maybe while the person is walking or something, to just, this is not nice. So to make sure that this doesn't happen, you can simply iron this, or you put hemming gum inside here, just the way we did if you've watched my blazer video. You put hemming gum here, and then iron it down. Just outside of the seam line, sorry. Then you put it down and you iron. Once you do that, the lining will never ever come out, to just remain neatly like this. It also makes the way to do that off camera. So this is the hemming gum. It also helps to make the slit firm. That's like, this is going to be really firm and straight. So yeah, I'm going to go off camera now and do the rest of it. That's do the other side. Okay, so this is it. Then I'm going to go ahead and put the hemming gum inside and iron it. Okay, before I iron, I first of all want to show you how I am going to join the front to the back. This is the front. And now I'm going to turn it facing the side to the front, that's the top of the back. And I'm going to move this all the way to the bottom. Here you have this and this. I am going to pick the ends, pin it like this, and then sew the fabric to fabric first. So along this line I'm going to sew all the way to the waist. After I have sewn that, from here again I'm going to come like this and sew the lining all the way to the waist as well, so that all the seam lines are inside. They are not visible. Even if you turn the cloth, even if you turn the dress to the back, you will not see the seam line to be inside. So just do yours the way I just explained. I'm going to go off camera now and do the same thing for the other side, the two sides, and do all the ironing so that we know that officially the bottom part is ready. So this is what it looks like after sewing the sides. These are pleat details there. Yeah. So that's it basically. If you're interested in seeing the skirt pattern I use, you can join the exclusive community, or you can contact me about taking on the beginner course. As a bonus, I am going to show you how I created the yoke. If you have any questions regarding the back of the dress, how I added it, how I cut it, feel free to let me know on Telegram. My Telegram contact is going to be in the description box, so just check for it there, click on it, say hi, and ask your question. Okay, so this is it. It's about to rain and there's no power, that's why it's now dark, but I hope you can see clearly. So after sewing the princess cut bustier, this is what we have, and I am now going to cut out the yoke. This is another method of creating a yoke with princess cut bustier. This is what my yoke is going to look like. Boom. I'm going to cut this out now, and then use this piece to cut it on the plain fabric, because that's what's going to serve as the yoke. But when I'm cutting that one, I'm going to add sewing allowance to it. Okay, before I continue, to make sure that the yoke fits perfectly, I am marking out this point, and I am going to notch it on the yoke and on the bodice itself, so that when I am putting the yoke back, I make sure that this point meets, and it helps to make the whole thing align. Okay, so this is it, with extra ½ inch allowance. Every other thing is the same, just here I added allowance. I also transferred that part that I notched, transferred it from here to here, and notch this one. So that's going to be our guide in joining the yoke to the body. I'm going to do that now for you to see, so that you can know how to do it in a way that it will relax. The first thing I'm going to do is notch the center of the body. So I'm going to do a very tiny notch here, and then I'll sew it to the yoke. Okay, so I'm notching the center now, very tiny, by about ¼ inch, because I'm going to be joining into the yoke with a quarter. So this is the yoke turned upside down, and then this is the bustier bodice. So I am going to take this part now that I notched, and I am going to place it on this center like this. Everywhere is so dark, it's about to rain. I hope you can still see. Can you see? So I opened up the notching. So it being like this, I open it up like this, so that I'm going to sew this side first. Then I'm taking the part that was notched, and I'm going to pin it to the part that is notched here. That helps me know that this is what goes, these are the parts that go together, so that nothing goes out of proportion and then starts puffing up. Hold on, please, let me get pins. Okay, I got carried away after pinning and sewed the whole thing. So what I did was to sew from here. This is where the notching met. You can see they still meet, and then continue sewing to this part. I use ¼ inch to sew. So I'm going to do the other side now. Still with the notching, I'm going to turn it this way. See, the notch is open. And then I'm going to sew this all the way to where we notched it. So this part meets this part. Let me pin it. And then I'll continue all the way to the end. So I'm coming this way. I'm going to run it like this, and then continue till I get to this notch. Okay, so important to note that it must meet, that you're sewing this way and this way must meet at the center of the notch. It should not come in, it should not go out, it should just be exactly where the notch stops. That's where the two lines should meet, so that when you open it like this, it is very relaxed. Can you see? Even without ironing, it's already very relaxed. Oops. So that's it. Okay, this is it. This is the back. That's what the front looks like. I generally do not attach breast cup to the fabric. I attach it to the lining, so this is without breast cup. Okay, so this is what we have. See how smooth it is. Part of the reason why it is this smooth is, one, the seam allowance is small, so I use 1/4 inch. Can you see? 1/4 inch for sewing. And two, I iron the seam lines open. It's open. I didn't iron it close. I opened it up and ironed. Same thing for the bust line. So that gives you a much neater finish. Can you see? It's ironed in the center. Same thing here. So that contributes to making it look smooth and relaxed. There is no cup, so that's this extra. That's it basically.